have a different perspective of missions that seemed to be contradicting some of the things that were taught. And maybe I heard a few people talk about it. Most of the time we think about missions in the sense of going to one village and all that. But I began to think about, what about changing institutions, like the professional institutions, the politics, communities. I don't know where I got that idea from, but it was an idea that came to mind, and I saw just a few people talk about it in mission conferences, like Engineer Fitabi that was here, and all that. And that was the kind of perspective I had, and I told my colleagues about. And that was why I took medicine very, very seriously. For example, thank God Imodore is there. You're welcome, sir. He's a younger colleague of mine, and privileged at one point or the other to have given one advice. I think you were part of IMDC, which I started. I started a tutorial group when I was in school to challenge Christian students to be outstanding. And Imodore, as this young man here, the top 30, he was among the top 30, they didn't rate them, so among the best 30 World Health Organization innovators in Africa. Can we celebrate? So we are blessed in church. So you just, and you can, and he's a born again child of God. You can imagine the kind of influence. So he speaks in places where people are going to ask questions. Someone one day asked me about him that the way he talks, because as then he just became a doctor. And I think maybe at the final year, that's when he applied also that he talks as if someone that has been studying medicine, and when you hear him speak, you see the depth of wisdom, and I believe it's the Holy Spirit at work. As the Khalifa will soon be here, is in charge of, is the ambassador of one World Summit, one Young Summit, also from IVC Medical and Dental Club too. This is the power of vision, and that's why I'm not looking at what God has led us to start here. As a 200 level student, is in charge of ambassador of one Young Summit for the whole of Africa and Middle East. So he speaks on platform. Of course, he's not going to say he's a born again Christian, but of course, when you listen to him, his values are that of God. And of course, he has come to our prayer platform, and there are many examples. Our first program director currently is in the UK. That's Tolu Oluwalashe, in the UK, studying international medicine and tropical health. A lot of people don't know the secret of Lashe. You can confirm what I'm telling you from him. I've been mentoring him when he was 200 level. I wrote his reference for the scholarship. And I remember a day to the final award, he came to me and said, look, this thing, I need prayers, and that 15 of us, everybody is very intelligent. And they're only going to select 2 of us. Roads for West Africa, they're only going to select 2 from West Africa. And I said, look, I believe that, because that was the year we started World Shake and National Plasma, I believe that God wants to take check internationally. He was our first program director, and I prayed with him, and I also linked him up to my pastor. We happened to attend the same church, and we prayed together. The next day, he was selected as one, and the scholarship is worth almost 200 million or so, because he's going to run it to PhD level. I'm sorry for taking a little time. I didn't plan this, but the kind of understanding I had that God was telling me, which I did not, but I think if more people are going to do that, what about we infiltrating these institutions and standing for God? And I think Kabez is going to come and talk, but there's something for this topic Kabez wants to talk about. I'm concerned. I really want to learn because when I served, I worked with the government, and people were running away from the north. I went. I was closer to a private hospital where I was going to be paid, but I wasn't seeing cases there, which was not ideal. But that's going to be in Nigeria, so let's not go into that. So I go to a government hospital and we see so many people. So I went to NYC and said, because I wasn't here, I was here to serve, that please, I want to be posted to the government institution. I got there. But you'll be shocked that for almost 6 months, they didn't pay my salary. I had to be using my house job savings. It was very discouraging. And someone had advised me, but I did not get the advice. That I should go there, that, I should settle some people there and all that and all that. I didn't get it. Now I'm a little bit wiser now, older. So it was a senior colleague that if not, that they will just retain long thing. They will say, I should come back next month. Next month, I won't see the salary. Next month again, I won't see the salary. And for 8 months, it was the 8th month eventually they paid for. It was then I was in theater. And I was working one day, and I fainted in theater. Why? I had not been eating. This is real. Then my boss, because I was posted to another place, there was a Boko Haram attack in my former venue. I was posted to another place. So that boss just got to know that I had not been paid. He was shocked. I was so what did your former boss do? It was that day he said, don't worry. And he said he's going to take care of it. And he paid 4 months salary. I didn't know what he did till now. Do you understand? So that year I vowed that I was never going to work with the government. I vowed after service I was never going to work with the government. But the truth actually is that last year God laid it on my heart, to work with the government. It was a thought, but God laid it strongly on my heart that we need to get into the government and get involved, because the government, there's a lot of platform. I work currently with the government in a primary healthcare center, which is not my choice. Probably soon I'll be working with them. I don't know about that. I'm still praying about that. But the kind of opportunities, people travel from far distances. They will even leave the nearby general hospital to come. I barely have no time to rest from when I start talk to when I finish. The platform. So, but I'm also dealing with something, the thing I was dealing with first. And now I'm wiser. But I believe in integrity, and God always give me wisdom. And in my place of work, they can testify that this doctor is different. I don't come and do like one holier than thou person, but God gives me the wisdom to manage every situation. So I'm sorry, maybe I will ask my first question. I would love to know, how have you been able to cope, working with the government, working in the secular and still retaining, because if KBC, So we're going to take a citation, and then the next person we'll hear is the KBC Onkwetu voice. Yes,
of Onkwetu of Ijeru, now in Ogbomoso South Local Government, Oyo State. Oba Oyediran spent his early life in sleepy village called Idiokbele in Surulere Local Government, Iresadu, Oyo State. He began his elementary education at Methodist Primary School, Idiokbele. After, he proceeded to Baptist Secondary Modern School, Ahoyaya, Ogbomoso, for his secondary education. From Baptist Secondary Modern School, he crossed to UMCA Grammar School in Beti Olorunsogo Local Government, Oyo State, where he sat for his West African School Certificate examination and came out in flying colors. Oba Oyediran, after his secondary education, took up an appointment with First Bank PLC. During this period, he got an admission to the University of Abuja to study public administration. He was in the banking sector when he was invited by his people to come home to mount the throne of his forebearers. Meanwhile, while in service, he was a labor leader and was known throughout the length and breadth of the bankers' community for his activism. He mounted the prestigious throne of the Onkwetu of Ijeru, remarkably one of 5 primordial and ancient stools in Oyo State, on 1st of June 1999. The others are Alaafin, Olugbo, Aresa, and Onikoyi. Other traditional stools were outcrops of the aforementioned. Since coming to the throne, Oba Oyediran has at various times organized health programs in his domain, where vulnerable and non-vulnerable people had benefited from his largesse. Besides, he has facilitated the provision of amenities in the town. He has equally introduced educational programs, including quiz for the students in primary and post-primary institutions. All these have walked him into the head of his people, who put him in high esteem. Oba Oyediran, as the permanent chairman of Ogbomoso South Local Government Traditional Council and a member of Oyo State House of Obas and Chiefs, has made the welfare of the chiefs under him a creed. He has contributed papers to the burning national issues, especially as regards traditional institutions. For his lofty contributions to the growth of his domain in various facets, he had received various awards home and abroad. His Royal Majesty is happily married to Olori Esther Oyediran, and they are blessed with lovely children and grandchildren. With a standing ovation, let's make welcome His Royal Majesty Oba Sunday Oladapo Oyediran, the Onkwetu of Ijeru Kingdom, to the World Shakers International Platform Season 4.
very much. Let's all be seated. I give glory to God Almighty, who has given us the opportunity to be here. I want to use this opportunity to thank the last speaker who spoke extensively about what traditional rulers can do to bring developments to their community. I was impressed by the questions asked, and I thank God that the response from the speaker was very cogent and very detailed. Tabesi, Areofiki, Obagbenga Devi, very good job. God will continue to empower you. Let me use this opportunity to thank all the members, all the head of departments, and all the directors of CHEC for giving me this opportunity. I'm not an academician like Obadeoye. I only tried to put something on paper so that people will not accuse me of just coming to blow grammar and left. But the topic you give me, I think, to my mind, is more or less of a practical thing,
Yes, sir.
than a theoretical paper.
Yes, sir.
So that is exactly what I'm going to do this afternoon. I'm going to be down to heart practically, and what you need to know, and the approach to take on the paper you give me. Before I do that, let me recognize my wife. She sacrificed her whole program today. Wow. Just for her to accompany me to this place. Thank you very much, ma'am. What is that topic you give me? Leverage of
Leveraging through partnership with the government, sir. Through partnership with the government.
I think Dr. Babari Bisa has said it all. We want to leverage partnership with the government. You are simply asking us to be agents of development. Nothing more. Something is wrong with our structure. The structure we operate in Nigeria. If not, this topic wouldn't have been necessary. Yes, we are in a democracy. But are we benefiting the dividends of democracy? The last Oba of Benin, Oba Eradewa, said, the traditional rulers preferred the rulings of the military than democratic rulers. And he gave his reasons. Because the military men, the moment they assume office, they will want to get support of the people, and they know where to go. They will quickly rush to the traditional rulers. I'm here as your friend, though they are not your friend. But they will tell the Oba that they are his friend, so that they will be acceptable by the generality of the people. But the democratic system, the so-called Democrats, the so-called politicians, we claim to know the terrain more than even the traditional rulers, even when they don't know anything. That is why they find it difficult to set their priority right, to put their priority right. even the so-called grassroots politicians. Then, how do we make things to work? How do we get the best out of the system we have? We have to, or we must, define some other means, probably that are not in the books.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We have to go extra miles to play over their antics. I did not say play over their intelligence, but their antics, because politicians are full of them. You cannot corner them.
Yes, sir.
They are ready to provide solutions to every question you ask them. They are ready to give excuses to every problem you presented to before them. Then how do you get the best out of it? That is what we are trying to look at this afternoon. But for the purpose of the conference, let me read 2 or 3 paragraphs of my paper. Then we'll go into practical aspect of it. The paper presented by His Royal Majesty over Sunday, Oyediran on leveraging true partnership with the government. The paper has been presented today, 12th December 2020, at Alumni Center, University of Ibadan, after all due protocols. The task of creating an enabling environment for all in accessing quality and affordable health services has no restriction. And there are restrictions in Nigeria. But universally there should be no restrictions. It has to be cooperative, ranging from individuals to groups, as well as private and public institutions. Good health, provision of good health, is not the responsibility of government alone. It's not the responsibility of private sector alone. And it is not the responsibility of individuals alone. It cuts across various institutions, including the religious body. In our society, improvement in health or physical condition and enjoyment of good health system by the populace is a contract-centered contract signed between two people, between the giver and the receiver. So the willingness and readiness from the bodies or forces involved. You cannot forcibly give me an injection. I must submit myself to it. Though there are circumstances that can compel me to take injections, but I may still decide not to take it. So it has to be willing. It must be voluntary. How many of us are Jehovah's Witnesses here? You know you cannot transfuse blood into them.
Yes, sir.
It is against their own faith.
Yes, sir.
It is against their own belief. They prefer to die than
Yes.
for you to give them blood.
Yes, sir.
So you must be willing, even if the provisions are there and you are not ready to accept. There is nothing anybody can do. You have the right choice to choose either to live or to die. It is not, nobody can compel you. Health is sacred. It is not a doubt that improved quality of life and increasing longevity are common threads that ties community together, as well as foundation through which the community reaches their full potential. So, the health of the community, the well-being of the community depends on the standard of health provided for them. Our unchecked population, that is a problem, big problem for us in Africa, especially in Nigeria. The rate our population is growing. I was at a conference the day before yesterday, and the state representative in population commission, Nigerian Population Commission, said, according to their statistics, the Nigerian population stands at 206 million. I don't know whether it is true or not, but that was the figure given 2 days ago. But But what is the quality or the quantity of our health institutions? Is it commensurate with the numbers of the populace? Can we say that? If we can say that in the southwest, probably. Can we say it in the north? Huh? Is it possible? It is not. But it's supposed to be. And another problem about the population of the thing is that we are campaigning for regulated population. The North are campaigning for regulated population increase. And that is why it will be difficult if we are to go by conventional elections for us to win elections from the southwest, unless we must compromise. It is difficult for the southeast to produce a president in Nigeria, or south-south to produce a president in Nigeria, because of our disadvantaged position population-wise. It is a crime for us to have 2,000 women will give birth to at least 4 children, if God permits, or more. So 4 by 4, 60, plus the 4 wives, 20, plus the husband, 21, one single household. Whereas a conservative person in the south with 1 wife, maximum 4. So together with the husband and wife, 6. Bring 10 families from the north, bring 10 families from the south. Let us go into an election. Who will win? Simple calculation. So it is very, very difficult. But are there provisions earth-wise to take care of these large numbers? That is where the problem lies. This call for services of middlemen, whose role centers on sensitization, mobilization, and enlightenment of the private bodies and individuals with the means on the need for an inclusive participation, aim at providing good and healthy services. On our side of the world, there are individuals and independent bodies who are in numbers of times richer than the government. Many. Somebody just died in Ibadan some days ago. Chivari Akande, at the time, he was named the richest person in Nigeria before Dangote. I don't want to go into details, but ask yourself, what impact? Even in the it's even worse than that.
It's worse than that, because most of the doctors are populated in tertiary institutions. So in other words, you have 1 in 10,000.
Somebody was asking, what is Ibadan? Okay, my sister there asked about the size of Ibadan and the role of Ibadan. Ibadan doesn't need to do anything again. Do you know how they call Ibadan? How they pray for themselves? I will tell you. The moment over to the Olúbàdàn, àdúrà tó Olúbàdàn máa gbà fún ẹni tí kò lẹ́yìn rẹ̀ ju wípé wàá kájọ Ìbàdàn. How many of us understand the meaning? Wàá kájọ Ìbàdàn, which means Ìbàdàn ń bọ̀ wá sí ọ. Ìbàdàn is coming to serve you. So as an Olúbàdàn, you are not to serve Ìbàdàn people. Ìbàdàn people is to serve you. But as an Ààrẹ Òfìkì, he is there to serve his people. As an Opetu, I am there to serve my people. I think I've answered your question.
Yes, sir.
We have 2 different roles to play. I look at traditional institution as a position of service. You know, there's an adage in Yoruba that you cannot come to the Bua Palace and expect Kabiyesi to arrange things for you and give you to take away. You must take something to Kabiyesi in the palace. Ibadan people are living that life. Olúbàdàn is living that life. I cannot live the life my people don't have. I must look for a way to make them have. That makes the difference. So we're talking about data collection. I don't know the ratio of nurses we have. If we cannot even determine the ratio of doctors, how do we determine the ratio of nurses? And despite the paucity of doctors and nurses, foreign countries are still on the increase, demanding for the services of our doctors and our nurses and lab scientists and everybody in our health sector. They are migrating on daily basis. Yet, government is not doing anything to check that. Brain drain. Yes, the population figure we have is estimated figure, not the actual. We did census last in Nigeria in 2006. How have we been doing our budgets? The record of birth and death is almost 0% in all our hospitals, in all our institutions. How are they projecting? Statistically, how are they arriving at their figures? They are giving us estimated figures. Maybe we are not up to 206 million. Maybe we are more than 206 million. They cannot come out and tell us. How do we now project? How do you now plan? And yet we have Federal Ministry of Planning areas. You need to see the quality of life these people are living. We used to see them, we see them every day. Not used to see them, we see them every day. Yet, there is no deliberate plan of government to look after them. And we want to see an end to Boko Haram. We want to see an end to banditries. We want to see an end to kidnapping and whatever. Ritualists. It is difficult unless we go back to the basics and begin to plan for the poor in our society. We need to take some deliberate and desperate actions to reduce the huge packages by our politicians. Once you are able to cross 200 and above, you will be given automatic admission. Go and check the statistics of staff in OAU today. Look at the size of that community, the size of that town. Look at the number of staff, both academics and non-academic staff in OAU that are from Supari. That is what I'm talking about. Individual, you see your position. We've produced head of service, a Yoruba person who has not brought anybody from their family into the civil service. Will he now wait until Abdullah Gambo get to the head of service before his family will gain employment in federal civil service? No. You must use your position to bring development to your people. I am not saying go and take bribe. No. What I'm saying is use your position. One of my boy, he left the services. He was the public relations officer, press officer to late Akuili when she was the federal minister of health. And why? He left because Akuili was just bringing her native people to the ministry. No other. He was the only person who was not an Igbo person. So if they are in a meeting and they don't want him to understand what they were discussing about, they will change the language to Igbo. No matter. No matter by your mewa, wọ́n fi Igbo sọ pé ẹ lọ kó mẹ́sàn-án wá. Wọ́n wá sọ fún un pé vacancy ẹyọ kan wà. Bó la ṣe honorable minister yìí náà lẹ́mú. Wọ́n kó mẹ́wàá wá bí wọ́n kó mẹ́wàá wá. Thank God he's now a federal minister. I will not tell you his name. But I've reminded him, Ratio, there was a time to set this. Factors militating against leveraging through partnership with government. There are no known factors against lobbying. Shall we go with to change the language here? But to change as a lobbying, we are saying the same thing. And lobbying is a legal instrument in democracy. Even in advanced democracy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So if Kabiyesi is preaching us to go and commit sin, I'm not telling you to go and commit sin. I'm telling you to go and use their language. Go and use the weapon of democracy to bring development to the people. That's the only way you can partner with government. Lack of proper knowledge about the working of government could be a possible hindrance to partnering with government on development. So we must try to know the workings of government. That is why you are learning now.
Yes, sir.
You are with them, you are learning their
Yes, sir. A lot, sir.
a lot. There are lots to be learned when you are with them. Sorry, when they want something to be done, they know the civil service rule,
Yes.
civil service rules. They will apply to get it done.
Yes.
And if they want to frustrate you out, they know the civil service rule
Frustrate it out,
to
yes.
frustrate it out.
Yes, sir.
But if you are knowledgeable about what you are talking about, if they bring this rule, you will counter them with another rule.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Another factor is individual differences or character. Some people are just timid. Kò sí ní ó lè ṣe fún wọn, wọn à lè change torí pé ẹ̀rù ń bà wọ́n. Ẹ̀rù ó ti ń pa ẹlòmíì láì tí rí ti lé ó sì ti hàn. I cannot sign this o. If my boss will know, say boss yìí lè ṣe tó jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Is the boss not doing something better than that or worse than that? Some are not just courageous enough, and some are self-centered. If they are not going to get anything out of what you ask them to do, they will not do it. Especially in local government administration now. That is over the local government. The career officers will say, Chairman, what about us? The career officers, what are we going to get from it? So if you want anything done, you have to take percentage, certain percentage for the political leaders, certain percentage for the career officers. What comes to community? Remnant. Ajimabi, in his first term, he gave some local governments 16 tractors each to boost agricultural.
Celebrate that. Hey, why you say something? Let's celebrate daddy. We celebrate you, sir. So, before we go and take pictures outside, and we can sit down. You can sit down, daddy.